All right. Hey, I'm Ken Gushi, driver of the Gazoo Racing GReddy Performance GR86 in the Formula Drift Championships. Alright guys, it's time for me to show you guys the car. It's probably one of my favorite liveries to date. I hope you guys like it. Check it out.
What happened?
In the 2025 championships, we started off on a rough patch with quite a few gremlins, especially in the drivetrain. We had 2 events in a row where we lost the gearbox in crucial parts of the battles where it cost us a lot of points. But in the latter half of the season, we started to pick up pace. And in fact, at the final round at Long Beach 2, we had a car that was extremely competitive, easy to drive, and well sorted. So during the off season, there were quite a few points that I wanted to touch on based on last year's drivability. One of the main things was really lightening the car in the right places and moving the weight around. So for the exterior, Sabon has actually helped us out with the carbon doors and the carbon trunk. And what that allowed us to do was to really remove the weights from areas that I didn't want it to be. And at the same time, it's a lot better when it comes to impact. So with the factory metal doors, what happens at impact is that it'll crumple and it'll stay crumpled, as where having a carbon skin will allow it to flex and kind of regain its shape. And of course, the carbon trunk takes away the weight from the backside of the car. And I really want to focus on moving the weight towards the front. So that included moving the battery from the trunk. So I moved that to the underside of the dash, cleaned up the wiring harness a little bit, and really sorted out kind of the interior look. Some of the key things that I changed as far as performance goes is we went from a single fogger nitrous system to direct port, and what that will allow to run less nitrous while producing the same amount of power and response. The biggest issue we had last year when it came to battles was our drivetrain. And of course we were using, one of the best gearboxes in the industry, Samsonis, but the boxes we were using have gone through many seasons. In fact, one of the boxes we had was on its 10th season, of course through many refreshes, but it was just a matter of time before we had to swap out the entire box, and we went with Samsonis's new RS90, which is the strongest rear-wheel drive gearbox that they offer. So now going from Long Beach 2, the car actually drove really well, so I knew right away that there weren't going to be many big changes to the car. In fact, our GReddy Performance engine package ran really strong. We had 0 issues during competition at the finals, and so I barely really touched the engine, just did a simple oil change. Not many big changes, just a lot of small changes that'll hopefully add up to a lot more reliability and drivability. Going into the 2026 season, I was able to retain a lot of my brands and partners that we've been working with and have a lot of success with. I've been working with GReddy Performance since 2012, and we've had a lot of success in the Formula Drift Championships. And of course, going into 2026, retaining that partnership is a huge blessing for me. The help and support, knowledge, experience, expertise that they bring on the table really helps me stay focused and not just driving, but also being able to compete with some of the best drivers in the world. For 2026, we'll be on the same Kenda tire that we've been driving on for the last 3 seasons. And Kenda has been very forward about, producing the best tires that we can drive on. And from the get-go, they were developing new tires that would be competitive in the series, really taking in our feedback and listening to the drivers' inputs when it came to what they were lacking on. I think with that, they were able to produce one of the most competitive tires in the series. So really blessed to be a part of the family and looking forward to seeing what we can do in 2026. Since 2018, Motul has been a partner of GReddy Performance. They have been helping us providing data on what weights we can use in our engine to help bring out the best performance out of our package. Engine oil, transmission, differential, brake fluid, and whatnot. With their products, I'm able to go into competition with confidence, knowing that their oil will protect a lot of the vital elements in the car. Yeah. All right. Pretty up. Let me grab another one real quick.
So for this one,
yeah.
You just want to go like
I'm super pumped to announce that we'll be going into year 2 with Chief Forest. You know, we're on the road, it gets really hot. In the car, driving, competing. The first thing I want as I hop out of the car is a Chief Forest, and I'm happy to announce that we'll be going into year 2 with these guys. Everyone loves them, I love them, the whole grid loves them. Really happy. 2 guys that I've been extremely fortunate to be working with are Scott and Jaden from OCD. And of course, we're running a GReddy Performance crate engine, but Scott and Jaden at OCD are the guys that are behind this engine program. They have extensive knowledge about the engine. They do all of their work in-house. And so last year on track, they were able to be trackside to support us on the engine package. So all I had to do was focus on driving, and really fortunate to be working with these guys again. I've been working with Link ECU since 2020, so we're going into year 6 with these guys. Jason, Forrest, and all the guys at Link have been very supportive of not just my racing career, but my lifestyle as well. I use their products in all of my cars, not just my race cars, but my street cars. Started off with the IS300, now in both of my Crowns, and of course the GR86 behind me. So I've been working with Rays, especially Graham Lights, since 2012, as soon as I joined GReddy Performance. And since then, they've been supporting us with all of our builds, the race car, a lot of the in-shop builds that we produce here. And of course, all of my street cars. Every single car I've owned have been on Graham Lights or any other race products like Homura, Volk Racing. And honestly, I think they're one of the most stylish wheels. As you can see behind me, we have their 57DR in ceramic white pearl. I originally was not a big fan of white wheels, but it finished off the car really nice, white on white. White on white, like white on rice.
What makes you keep coming back?
Well, every year, you know, going into a new season, I'm always motivated to be able to extract the best performance out of myself. And of course, that means, you know, pushing some uncomfortable boundaries that I've set for myself and trying to eliminate those boundaries. And a lot of that comes mentally. So always going into a fresh season, you have a whole new mindset, you know, trying not to relive the bad moments that I've had in my career, except create better moments that'll lead to better driving and performance. And of course, that has to come from within. You know, obviously being in the series, meeting all the fans, and being on track, driving behind the wheel is always, you know, a good time. And I keep having to remind myself that there's hundreds of thousands of other people that want to be where I am today. So not to take that for granted, and just to drive my best, but also have fun doing it. I took over the racing program in 2016. Now it's almost 10 years since I've started my very own Gushi Motorsports. And now that I'm a team owner slash driver, I have to oversee pretty much the entire operation of what goes into a Formula Drift team. That means, you know, part of my focus gets taken away from just driving, because I have to make sure everything happens that has to happen to get to just the starting line. So it makes me really appreciate a lot of the help and support that I receive from, you know, guys like GReddy Performance, Kenda Tire, and of course, Toyota, that's been a long time supporter of myself as a driver. And really, when things go well, it's that much more rewarding because I know what had to happen for us to get there. And I think that's the biggest difference between just being a hired driver and a team owner slash driver. The biggest shock that I noticed right away when I had to really operate my own program was the cost. It was just an insane amount of money that it took to simply get to the venues. All the fuel costs, travel, you know, all the booking the flights, the hotel, and then paying the team, just the crazy amount of cost that it took just to get to the venue. And that's just to one venue. You know, going from LA to Atlanta takes 3.5 days. So the cost it takes to get there was just something that I didn't expect before. And being a team owner, you really start to appreciate the companies and brands that give you the parts, products, even the funding to make sure that happens, because without them, it would be 100% impossible. I started off drifting at a very young age. In fact, I started driving even younger than that. But ever since I can remember, Toyota has always been a part of our family. Both my parents drove Toyotas. My dad was a hardcore fan of the Toyota AE86, which is pretty much the car that kickstarted my career. And I started drifting or learning how to drive in his 1985 Toyota Corolla rear-wheel drive. And so driving for Gazoo Racing today in the GR86 that carries its heritage from the original A86 is pretty crazy to me, because I just feel like it's come full circle. And of course that wouldn't have happened without the Scion brand. So back in 2006, I had the first offer to switch over from a previous manufacturer to go into Scion. And at the time I was a little hesitant because Scion didn't have any motorsports heritage or rear-wheel drives for that matter. So what I knew was Scion was a part of Toyota, and that alone was the deciding factor that made me jump ship. And I'm glad I did, because that relationship brought me to brands that I work with today. And yeah, just really fortunate to be a part of the Toyota Gazoo Racing family. Now, where do I see myself in 5 years? I mean, I'm not getting any younger. I'm 40 this year. I really don't want to be that old driver in the series competing against, young drivers. Today in the series, I mean, they're as young as 14, 15 years old, which is pretty crazy, and they're extremely competitive. And so at some point I have to make, a career-changing decision to either step back as a driver and really give up my seat, or give the opportunity of my seat to the next generation of drivers, or, take a whole step away from competitive drifting in general. That's a decision I have to make in the coming, I'd say 2 years, 3 years, who knows? I mean, it depends on how I feel at the time, but the fact is I don't want to be the old driver that's taking away opportunities from kids. It's my 23rd season going into Formula Drift, a whole new season coming right upon us this weekend at Long Beach. And the one thing that I've never been able to attain is a championship. And of course I say this every year, is that I really want that championship. And it's the same, honestly, it's the same thought process, is that I want that championship. That's the one thing that I haven't had in my career. Gonna really try to focus on making sure that happens. And of course I think I work with the best partners that I absolutely can. And I'm just gonna try to make that happen. It's a fresh season, fresh start, new mentality, fresh mentality. As long as I can keep it clean in my driving and have a car in one piece at the end of the day, I have the recipe to make that happen. Yeah, none of this would be possible without the partners that I work with. So a huge thank you to all of you guys, especially GReddy Performance, who've believed in me since 2012. Toyota, you guys have been supporting me since 2007. That's the absolute longest partnership that I've ever had, and I can't believe that I'm still driving for you guys. Huge thanks to you guys for believing in me and the series and the sport of drifting. Thank you to all the fans for supporting me for a long time. 23 years in this career is pretty wild to think of, and a lot of you guys have stuck with me since day one, so a huge thank you to you guys. I really can't wait to see you guys this season. Thank you to my family, my dad, my mom, for giving me this opportunity, and my friends.